This is a brief introduction. If you want to check out the whole tutorial, then please head over to my Patreon, where you'll be able to draw along with me as we piece together a spontaneous composition. It's a topic which I think has endless potential, and this is just a retrospective, a look at some of the pieces I've done which I feel are relevant to this idea of spontaneous composition. To get into this idea a bit, I'd like to share some work of mine which I feel some of it is really successful, some of it is kind of hinting towards it but not quite there. And what I would like to do with this tutorial, we kind of bring this idea of spontaneous composition into focus so that from our sketch practice we can create pieces or spreads in our sketchbook which feel like, wow, this has, rather than just being a bunch of isolated sketches, this feels like a cohesive, cool, thought out thing. We can work with this in really brief sketches, like my weekly Tuesday sessions, which are incredible practice for this kind of thing. So everyone come along to my Tuesday sessions. So it can be really brief practice, or it can end up being a collection of really, fleshed out drawings. And depending on how you're working, if you have a sketchbook practice or if you're doing this kind of thing on loose paper, just looking at how you bring all these things together, you may find that it can be really exciting to bring your sketches, bring your work together in a way which becomes part of something greater. So I'm really into sketch practice. I like doing lots of sketching, lots of drawing, and sometimes I wonder, like, what's going on with all of these sketches? What is this that I'm doing actually? And if you, like throughout this spread, you see here these different elements, which this seems like a separate part in this composition. It becomes one big horizontal composition, but also within that composition, there are like compositions within compositions. So it's kind of, I'd say this is the boldest and the portrait I put most time into. And so it's kind of the centerpiece of this side and this spread. It's like a really intense, and it's kind of balanced out here. This becomes this block of shadow. This becomes like an interesting part of the composition, and I think the portrait over on the left is kind of balanced a bit by this one. So there's two main compositions, but it's also like here, this composition within a composition, this composition within a composition, just the way that initial, and that was the first of this spread, how I chose to center that and left negative spaces around that I could start to weave things into. So this is an idea, or here, this is really clear central. I feel like as an overall composition, this is not as interesting as the previous page. But yeah, if we're starting to think like this, we can bring pieces into focus, that maybe there'll be one more resolved portrait and some other less resolved portraits. Maybe they're all kind of equally resolved and put together in an interesting way. And I just feel the possibilities for experimenting with this are pretty endless. So it's really fun. Or here, I've given a lot more space, more breathing room to each of the portraits here. So that's also a conscious choice, like not to fill the page. I have a sketch I did of Sandra in a Tuesday session where we do 26 sketches, and it was so strong, and the whole movement and pose of it I felt was so strong, I decided to leave it and not to fill it up with other portraits. And so that's this one. And this would have been a page where I do a lot of sketches on, but I just felt the position, the view, the strength of the drawing. I was like, I'm not sure I should fill anything on this page, just because I felt like this was such a successful sketch that the emptiness of the composition makes it really strong. And if I were to fill it in with others, there's always a risk as well. Maybe I do a sketch and like, no, I don't like it as much as that one. And here I just felt like the whole movement over the shoulder, looking to the left, there was a conscious choice in this case just to leave it and not to fill it. in this drawing session. So this page, there was not so much thought to the overall composition, though there is definitely like a central main sketch here. And as I moved over to this side, I felt like there was the way these are kind of clustered together and the space left here. There were things that were going on really well here. And I decided to leave this open. So that openness, the negative space, that becomes a conscious choice in the composition here. This is a page full of sketches. And I feel like it's not really, there's not much thought given to the composition. Each sketch is its own valuable study. Or here, this starts to be more successful. I remember as I was drawing Leith, and I was like, oh, this would be interesting, like horizontal open arms, what's going to come below? And then it was filled by this. So in this context, it's like from pose to pose, we don't know what's going to happen next. Choosing here the way things are kind of clustered and moving along the page. Yeah, or here, this was an interesting collection of things, a Ganesha statue, tent from our holiday, and then someone on the underground in London. Yeah, just choosing things here. This is not finished. I would like maybe emphasize this statue, go back to that. I took a reference photo so I could drew from life, but then to keep going on it. And so there are things within this kind of spontaneous composition where I can continue to polish it and work on it and bring it to more of a finish. Oh yeah, this. So I thought this was really interesting. This form here. So this drawing started with the back of a head, and then that person turned to the side. And then in the distance there was someone else. This is also the same person. This is someone else who I think was sitting with this person. And so these are not all located in the same way that they were in that situation in life. But I found something about like wrapping up vertically here and leaving this space empty, which potentially could have something filled into it. But it's interesting having that open space, and I feel like that vertical wrapping up the page is interesting. So there are all sorts of things we can do as we experiment with the way we're putting things together. Overlapping is something which is again and again really interesting and really useful. Just creating a sense, conscious choice. Like here we have Connie, and Lydia seems to be behind. So just making this choice of like putting something in front. Or here, Chris, just this coming up here and having Patricia, who was drawn first, make it looks like it's overlapping Chris and Maria Luisa here, because they're coming up to and meeting Patricia's outline. There's a sense of Patricia being in front and overlapping. Overlapping really ties things together. There was the page where I had these two separate portraits which were loose, no contact, they had a lot of space. But as we're playing with composition, if we overlap and bring things together, that's going to be something which can be really strong. And it also can be interesting once you're doing that to then have something which is disconnected and not overlapping with the rest of what's happening. So there's a lot to explore. This is a theme that I've been really excited about. I think this is going to be a really cool tutorial and something which is really relevant for sketchbook practice, for life drawing, figure drawing with me on Tuesdays. So this was a Tuesday session, putting Kiki in a box at the bottom. Also makes it really interesting within the overall composition here, like the overlap at the corner. I feel like there's the potential here is really interesting. So also incorporating kind of graphic forms and elements into this kind of composition. It can just be really cool to see how you can fill a page and how you can make it interesting. And this was another one, the overlap here. And yeah, the top part of this spread, I feel like this is really interesting. The way these different poses, these different sketches are interacting with each other. So that's the idea we're exploring today. Spontaneous composition. And I think, yeah, there'll be a lot of sketching involved. This can be a really loose practice, like 30-second sketches all together on a page, and maybe there's like one longer piece in the middle. There's a lot of different things we can experiment with, and I can't wait to see what you do, because each of us in our practice are going to be doing really different things. So we're doing this right here together now, but how you take this into your sketching practice, that's something that I would love to see. So yeah, please share, tag me, share it on Discord, and of course on Instagram if you're sharing there. This is the sketchbook where I really started doing this kind of thing. And yeah, it led to some really great opportunities, and there are some fun explorations. Like, as I mentioned, they're not, like, it's not all as successful, and each time is like a different experiment of how to combine things. But as I continued through this sketchbook and the way I was trying things out and bringing things together, it led to making really conscious choices and focusing more and more here, like this, where some of them were just kind of like unplanned and they just kind of came together. And then in this spread, it was like, okay, I'm really going to make this a cohesive thing and fill the entire page with faces. Now I think it would be interesting to have more like negative space left over as well. But the whole process leading to this this exploration and how to put things together in an interesting way, like it's just so much fun. So yeah, this is so dense, so full. Now I think I'd really definitely leave play more with negative space. But there's negative space that exists in here too, and that's also interesting to think about, that perhaps negative space is can be left completely blank, or it can be used in an interesting way. How do we use the negative space? Like, keep it as a space holder, or does it serve as a space for a new composition within a composition? So yeah, it's just so much fun. This is maybe worthy of an entire course rather than just one tutorial, because yeah, it's something that I've kind of practiced a lot and invites us to experiment in our own sketchbook and our own drawing practice. It's just a really interesting topic. So that's what we're up for today. I've been really excited about today's tutorial topic. So follow the link in the description to my Patreon, where you can watch this brand new tutorial and you can draw along with many other tutorials to all sorts of different topics, where we explore many aspects of what makes sketching and painting and portraiture so interesting and so much fun. And I would love you to join our creative community and learn together.